Her wounds dream of healing. Governed by hopelessness, she utters prayers that are afraid of heights. So for them, heaven is beyond reach. She releases her voice despite knowing that it will crash land. Pain is the grave digger that keeps shoveling her skin in order to bury the joyful moments she once had. The sun rises, mourning the death of her happiness. She's broken inside, tries to hide it by wearing an oversized smile, lips broken. So the pain always manages to slip through her cracks. Her body language is pain. It speaks in the dialect of shame. Scars, bruises, and wounds are the figures of speech. Her speech, murdered by silence. Its corpse rests inside her voice box. Abused, broken. She tries to hide it, but her skin is so transparent you could see traces of knuckles left by the fists of her ex-lover, whom she was ready to walk down the aisle with. Some of her bones have even changed their locations, stepped into the ring of engagement with high levels of excitement. Never knew that she would have to wrestle against victimization inside it. The glitter from the diamond had stolen her attention that she missed the part where he said, "I'll be with you till bruises do us apart." Her hollow eyes echo the screams of Sarah Bartman and every other black woman that has been abused. Stormy weather lies behind her eyelids, always ready to usher a heavy rain of tears. She told me how her kisses moved from lips to cigarette butts and beer bottles. Her emptiness envied the fullness of the bottles that often stood in front of her. So she drank till the very last drop to ensure that she and the bottles contained the same amount of emptiness. She was a rock that got crushed into dust particles that got lost in the sands running through the hourglass. Time heals everything. But she thinks that the God she believes in has aged and suffers from memory loss. Seeing how the promise of being made whole again had not been kept, she told me how she used to experience frequent power cuts within before she met a young lady that rekindled that spark that existed before being proposed to. The diamond in the ring had slowly stolen her inner glow. As it grew shinier by the day, she grew dimmer inside. After listening to her story, I knew I had to write a piece about her. The dark cloud that hung above her finally brought a heavy rain of peace. She wore a white dress that she dipped in the rainbow that followed, and now she has learned to interpret dreams, always encouraging her wounds to never stop dreaming, because that is the only way they can attain healing. Infertile clouds gather above our heads every day. They have made peace with the fact that they can never stomach the rain. Surrogate clouds from neighboring planets have tried to help, carried misery in their wombs only to give birth to drops of pain, ashy feet, dance aimlessly to the rhythm of poverty. But with dry lips the sun still smiles light into our lives, leaving darkness on its knees, pleading with light to keep its distance. These empty hands are full of blessings. Our plates are empty, but tonight we shall eat from the poet's pages. These black diamonds undermine themselves. Plastic beauties melt away after being kissed by the sun. Queens give up godly manufactured crowns for man-made plastic crowns that only glitter for a second or two. Index and middle fingers make frequent visits down their throats, only to return with the food that they ate with. Ribs and cheekbones exposed there when beauty pageants to put food on the table. Even though their tongues have forgotten how food tastes, anorexia and bulimia, the minimum requirements for being a model. African queens follow a European standard of beauty where the bonier skeletons are the most beautiful. Audiences lose their voices screaming for skeletons in bikinis and Brazilian weaves, melanin kicked out of their skin by bleaching creams. Human characteristics divorced, they imitate cats when they walk, zombies, wearing makeup, lipstick, plastering the cracks on their lips as they fake smiles for the camera, knowing deep down that their low self-esteem shall have their inner selves for dinner. From being well-fed, they chose to model themselves into starvation. All this must come to an end, otherwise these breathing Barbie dolls will give birth to a plastic generation that will melt away into extinction. The crowns on our heads glitter with shame. Killing trees for the paper is not enough. Our people suffer the same fate. Wounds and scars feel more at home on melanated skin than they do on others. Spirituality auctioned. Materialism is the devil that always spits the highest. The cloud hanging above us has grown darker in complexion. Too many of our people die in vain, and the earth is not big enough to accommodate us all. So our ancestors are forced to vacate their 6 feet deep bedrooms to make space for us to be buried. A few years from now, we will have to negotiate with neighboring planets for land to open new cemeteries, just so we can have funerals that are out of this world, which seems to be the ultimate goal, seeing how we splash cash trying to impress the dead, jumping into oceans of dead sardines, seeking help from loan sharks, and yet we are their main cause of seeing. My people spend fortunes on 5-star caskets and tombstones just to prove that they are better than the skeletons resting in their neighboring graves. The cemetery is the haven for show-offs. Hunger and homelessness are chronic social ills, and yet the price of one casket is enough to build a home and put food on the table for a family of 4 for an entire week or more. The heavens have truly blessed us with foolishness. It is sad how one would mourn on an empty stomach just to show neighbors that they can afford a fancy funeral, forgetting that it's not the casket that's worth remembering, but the person inside it. From concrete beginnings, we used to steal bricks from construction sites. The ones with holes were our targets. We used them to manufacture cars to transport our visions and dreams, steered by our hands. There was no place too far to reach. From sedans to SUVs, taxis to double-decker buses, we carved our dream cars out of these bricks. We were self-driven, learned how to be F1 racers, taxi and bus drivers. Our mothers owned first aid kits. For when we returned home with knees bleeding, we were young travelers. The fate of our dreams lay in our hands. Drove on smooth roads created by the movement of our vehicles. Never worried about gas prices because these cars were fueled by passion. Couldn't afford toy cars, so we created our own. These bricks helped us face reality. Gradually graduated from bricks as time passed by. Our neighbors' fences became more interesting. We were wired to explore. With pliers we tore down their fences, manufactured machines with steering wheels, reinvented the wheel with 330 milk cans. From bricks to wires, this was a huge upgrade. At least we could finally brand our vehicles, sculpted German machines with wired engines, connected shoestrings to steering wheels, enabling us to swerve, making it easier for us to reach our desired destinations. Now journey with me as I make a U-turn down memory lane to re-experience the joy that those with wireless childhoods never felt.